On a deal I purchased in Hudson, Florida, right outside of Tampa. It is a retail strip center, Pyramid Plaza, and how everything went wrong on this deal, but I still made money. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Matthew. I'm a commercial real estate investor. I live in Southern California, but I buy commercial property all over the country. So, Pyramid Plaza, it's when I bought this building, completely vacant. This is what it looks like now. But when I bought this building, it was an ugly vacant building. Okay, 4,500 square feet, $300,000 purchase price, 100% vacant, 4 units that were in awful shape. Purchased it in 2023. So I was able to get this thing, 300,000 on 4,500 square feet in the Tampa metro is only like what, $68 a square foot. So super low basis, but for a reason. The building was in awful shape. Roof was caving in. So the roof was in really bad shape. The AC unit condensers in the back were completely stolen. They were gone. The guys, like, they were there at some point. So it was like, some wealthy attorney that had the money or whatever, just didn't really care, just sitting there. This is what the interior looked like here. You can see that the units were in awful shape on the inside, and he was trying to lease it out. He wasn't even trying to lease it out. He had tenants that slowly left one by one and had no mortgage on it, so he just didn't really care. So it was vacant. The AC units were gone. The roof was in really bad shape. And because the roof was in bad shape, you literally had it raining inside. Like, these were all boxes he had from his clients, which to me is insane. He had all these client documents in there. They were removed before we closed, but this is the photo right before we closed. There was water everywhere. The interior walls were getting screwed up. Awful shape. This is what the exterior looked like. These tenants all had been gone. There was a salon at some point, tattoo studio. Anyway, building was in really bad shape. Got it at a great discount. Now, this was the original plan. And I'm going to go over how everything went wrong. But the original plan was to buy the building, buy it cheap, buy it vacant, to renovate the building, fix the roof, fix the ACs or install ACs, clean up the interior, lease out the 4 units, stabilize it, start cash flowing it, and then either sell or refinance it, get all the capital back, and then keep the deal. That was the plan. Had $115,000 renovation and leasing budget. So that was the original plan in 2023. As you can imagine, what we had planned is not what actually happened. So this is what actually happened. So reality showed up with an invoice. The actual 115 was closer to 150 by the time we were leasing costs plus renovations. Because of the condition of the building and how long there had been water intrusion, we had to TPO the roof. We had to go and fix all the interior units. We had to install ACs as the places got leased one by one, leasing commissions, tenant improvements for tenants that want really specific build outs. But the real problem with this deal, which I'm going to go over in a minute, you don't really see it on the budget side, but the real problem with this deal was the parking. Retail requires a certain amount of parking, okay? Because the parking was so limited, 2.9 spots per 1,000 square feet, and we'll touch on the parking ratio in a moment. Because the parking ratio was so bad, it prevented a lot of tenants from being able to sign leases. We couldn't have restaurants. We couldn't have anything that had like a dwell time, means that the tenants actually spend some time at the center, not just pick something up, not just, drive through whatever or pick up whatever. It required the higher parking ratio. So leasing took forever. Every time we'd get an application, we'd look into it. They have to walk away because they're not going to get a certificate of occupancy with the amount of parking. So the problem. So we only had 2.9 spaces per 1,000 square foot. Okay. Many retailers, many tenants would not even look at space unless it was 5 per 1,000 square feet. And in many cases, it's not just the tenant, the city too. The city will require a certain amount of parking for that tenant. So you have to dedicate, let's say, 5 spots per 1,000 square feet for a restaurant. Now, some restaurants have it by the amount of tables, and the need changes from municipality to municipality, but the point is that this property did not have enough parking. And I knew that going in, but I didn't think it would be as big of a deal as it was. By the way, this was my first retail center. I was coming off all apartments from when I got started in 2020 to 2023. I had been exclusively doing apartments, bought a bunch of small apartment buildings, got up to 48 units in across 6 or 7 small apartment buildings. And I decided that the future was in retail. So I transitioned into retail, and this was the first retail property I had bought. So this was the reality in leasing. As of today, 2026, I have 3 out of 4 units filled. So I still have 1 vacancy that I have been unable to fill. We got close with a bunch of people, but it hasn't happened. So leasing has taken far longer than expected. And It's not as easy. Commercial takes longer to fill. Okay. So we refinanced. But here's the thing. Here's when I say we actually didn't, even though everything went wrong, we're actually not going to lose money on this deal. Are we going to make as much as I had underwrote at the beginning? No. But even though so many things went wrong, this is the power of real estate, is that we're still making money on this deal. Purchase price was 300,000. So far, the all-in is 150,000. It's going to be more because even though the last space we completely renovated it, we're going to have to pay the broker tenant commissions and leasing commissions on that space. And we've had to cycle through some brokers. It was a newer market, so we were learning that game. So we're all in at 450 on this deal. And the appraisal, we refinanced it. The appraisal came in at 750,000. So because our basis, because what we purchased the property at was so low that you could make mistakes along the way and still make money. Basis is forever. It's forgiving. Whatever you're able to buy the property at, if you're able to buy it cheap enough, things could go wrong and you'll still make quite a bit of money. So we're looking at $300,000 in value created on this deal so far. If I lease out that last space, this property is going to be worth north of $800,000. So we already refinanced this property, and all the cash we put into it, we pulled back out. Because what we did is bought it on seller financing, 33% down. So we put 100 grand. The tenant gave us 200, or the landlord, the old landlord, gave us a loan for $200,000. We gave him 100,000. He carried the note. We paid him every month on a $200,000 note. I think the mortgage was like $1,600 a month or something. We leased out the spaces. Each space leased for about $1,500-$1,600. So once we leased the first space, we were breaking even on the mortgage. We leased the second space. We were breaking even on the mortgage and all expenses. Started pocketing. Third space got filled up, and now we're actually distributing cash flow and receiving cash flow. Once that fourth one gets filled up, the building's going to be worth a lot more. So right now, as is, 3 out of 4 occupied, as you saw on the previous screen, 3 out of 4 occupied, the building is valued at $750,000. Again, we fill up that last spot, it's going to be worth $825,000. That's value-add real estate. Even though everything that could go wrong went wrong, our initial investment of $300,000 has doubled over 3 years because we put in $100,000 here, we put in $150,000 in leasing commissions and renovations. And then once you add in the additional money we're gonna have to spend filling up that last unit, some of the holding costs at the beginning, we're all in about $300,000. And we've already doubled it. When we refied, we pulled out $300,000. We pulled out the money that we had put into this deal. Now we're in for $0. And then when we sell this building, we're still gonna have a healthy exit where we're gonna enjoy our profits other than enjoying cash flow every month. Now, is the cash flow a lot? No. Again, there's a vacant unit. There's a lot of cash flow in here that we haven't been able to unlock. Now, we're just recently, what we started doing with our commercial portfolio is we started direct marketing to the tenants. So one of the things I think would be a great fit for this building that's not in here is a tattoo parlor. There was a tattoo parlor in there previously, a couple years before we bought the building, had vacated. So we started sending out letters to tattoo companies, say, hey, if you're looking to move or open another location, come take a look at our space. So we've ever since we've been doing that this year, we've been starting to get on a lot more showing. So I'm optimistic about our ability to fill up this last space before the end of the year and have a great exit where we can get all of our profits because we've already received all of our capital back from a refinance. And we were able to take that refinance money and buy another deal. We ended up buying a shopping center in Kansas with this deal, with the refinance money from this deal also, which we've added value to and made worth quite a bit more. So if you're able to find the right deal at a low price, you don't have to worry that every detail is going to ruin the deal because you give yourself margin. You give yourself margin in the deal. So what went wrong? Okay, I underestimated the parking issue. I knew it was real. I treated it as, oh, it's just going to take a little bit longer to fill stuff up. No, it filtered out most tenants that came to us. So that is a learning lesson so that I can not make that mistake on the next deal. I underestimating leasing times due to the parking issue. I underestimated repair costs. I had budgeted 115. The real budget was 150. Now, up to this point, this was my largest value add. For apartments, it's like, okay, I'm going to spend 10, 15 grand cleaning up this apartment, redoing the flooring, painting it, changing out the receptacles, easy. But commercial, I knew the costs were going to be high, and I got quotes, came out and looked at it. But the quotes, they left out some stuff. They didn't account that I was going to do, this and not that. So we ended up running above, and then leasing commissions also. The broker, when he came, he brought longer leases, which meant I have to pay him more as a leasing commissions. So I thought this deal was going to be a lot easier than it was. I thought retail was easier than it was. It's not. Leasing is a lot of work, but I was able to buy this so cheap that it completely washed away all the headwinds on this deal, which is the idea that I'm harping on, is that if you're able to find something at a good enough basis, at a cheap enough price per square foot or price per unit, if you're looking at apartments, a lot of things can go wrong and you can still make money. It's all about the buy, all about the buy. So why this deal so worked? I mean, just like I said, I bought it cheap enough. Okay. Buying it cheap enough left room for mistakes. And I was able to force appreciation by cleaning the building up and actually getting some revenue in there. The reason I bought it so cheap is the building was not producing revenue when I bought it. It was sucking money out every month. Cleaned the building up as quickly as possible, started leasing it as soon as that first tenant got in there. So we got our first tenant pretty quick, which was a smoke shop. Once the smoke shop got in there, we were immediately breaking even on the building. Took some of the pressure off because now we're no longer, losing cash flow every month. So now we're able to focus on filling up the other spaces. So because we bought the building so cheap, that first tenant was able to cover all our mortgage and our expenses. So buy at a low enough basis. You can force appreciation through renovations and leasing. We refinance to get all of our capital back out. So now we're in the deal for nothing and we still have equity in it. And then the amount of value we could create outweighed the misses and the headwinds on the deal. Buy at a good basis. So real estate is forgiving if you buy right. If you buy right, you can afford to make mistakes. So if you're looking for your first deal or you're looking to buy your next deal, you just got to be sure that, okay, look around. There was no other retail centers in any part of that market that were selling under $100 a square foot. We're going to buy this thing at 68. Even after we have to spend all the money cleaning the building up, we're still going to be in the deal at less than $100 a square foot. So even after spending all the money and cleaning the building up and leasing it out, we're still in the deal for less than the surrounding property is trading for. Most property in the area, we're trading closer to $200 a square foot, stabilized property. We're trading at 150, 175, $200 a square foot. So I knew that buying it at 68, even if I have to spend money in it, I'm still going to make money. Money is made on the buy. And it's never easy. Your underwriting is always wrong, whether it's too aggressive, whether it's too passive. Back in the day in 2023, my underwriting was too aggressive. Now I think I've probably, swung too much in the opposite direction where my underwriting is too passive and I usually end up beating it now instead of missing it. But it's never going to be a clean deal that's perfectly going to follow you the timeline in your underwriting, the rents that you underwrite, the budget that you underwrite. So buy right, focus on operations, clean the deal, clean the property up, lease it out. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be clean, but you will make money if you buy a deal with enough margins. Good deals with enough margin survive problems. So the deal was ugly. Execution wasn't perfect, but the results are still there. And that's why I love value add real estate. You can be wrong on so many things and still create wealth. So even though because the parking ratio took so much longer to lease and the construction was wrong, I ended up having to fire several contractors, fire several leasing brokers, I was still able to make money on this deal. And this was my first retail deal. I learned so much on this deal. And even though you think this might have been a bad experience, and it was during some moments of it, I was frustrated at how long leasing was taking, different contractors having to fire them and find new ones. It was still clear to me that this deal was still going to have margin at the end of the day because of the price I bought it at. Okay. So here's photos of what the property looks like now. As you can see, we have 3 units that are filled up. This one is still vacant. We had to TPO a decent chunk of the roof that was falling apart. Luckily, it didn't need to be completely replaced. What we did is we cleaned it up and then we put a TPO gel on it to prevent it from leaking. We have a smoke shop, we have an insurance office, and we have a pawn shop. Here, we cleaned up the monument sign, we painted it, we put the tenants' businesses on it. As you can see, there's only one space available, and this is the last spot available in this building. We redid the parking lot, we painted the building, we helped the tenants get in their monument sign, we installed exterior lighting, we really cleaned the building up. Here's another photo. As you can see, the tenants, the smoke shop with their banners, the monument sign, and then here's a close-up here. And as you can see on the first page, I mean, look at this now. I'm going to go back to the first page, and you can see what this building used to look like. Not this page, this page. This is what the building exterior used to look like. This is what the interior used to look like. And now these tenants have beautiful interior build outs, and they're doing business. They got sales going on. They're there all the time. Again, you can see how limited parking is in this building. You do have a couple parking spots in the back, which can service some of the employees. Employees typically park in the back, and the front is reserved for customers. But you can't open a restaurant because if you have 4 or 5 people that are eating at this restaurant, they're going to take up half the parking lot. So that was the main headwinds with this deal. Anyway, enough yapping from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the deal. If you guys are interested in following along my journey as I buy, more commercial assets, I'm moving into industrial, and I'm doing a lot of these value add retail deals. I'm going to keep sharing my journey as I grow and build a commercial real estate portfolio. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Follow along, and I will catch you guys on the next one.